The year is 895 AD in the North Atlantic. King Aurvandill and his bastard brother Efjalnir return to their kingdom with chests full of riches after his overseas conquests. Aurvandill reunites with his wife Gudrun and his son Amleth, who is gifted a special necklace that Aurvandill took from a prince he killed. Efjalnir also reunites with his baby son Thorir, yet his mood quickly gets sour when the court jester Hymir makes fun of him. After the banquet, Aurvandill spends some time with Gudrun and shows her where he's been wounded. Gudrun worries, but Aurvandill tells her he'll be fine for now because he doesn't plan to die like an invalid, he'll die with honor in combat. He does admit, however, that he should get Amleth ready in case the worst happens. Later that night, Aurvandill takes Amleth with him to the temple so the boy can go through a spiritual ceremony to officially become a man, all overseen by Hymir. Father and son channel their inner wolves and Amleth is blessed with the knowledge of the tribe, for which he must swear to live with honor and avenge his father if he ever falls to the enemy's hands. The drink Hymir gives Amleth causes him to see a series of hallucinations, and when he touches his father's wound, Amleth gets to witness the entire family tree. The two of them leave the temple in the morning and are ambushed by a group of masked warriors on horses. Amleth wants to help, but Aurvandill tells him to run away, and the kid hides behind a rock to watch how his father is hit by multiple arrows. The leader of the group then takes his mask off and reveals to be Efjalnir, who proceeds to kill his brother to take his place as king. Afterward, he sends his soldiers to find Amleth, who runs away deeper into the forest. He's suddenly found by Finner, but Amleth manages to cut off his nose with a knife before pushing him off and escaping. A few moments later, Amleth makes it back to his village, where soldiers are killing anyone that still supports Aurvandill and Efjalnir is kidnapping a screaming Gudrun. Finner doesn't want to admit he lost to a child, so he tells Efjalnir that Amleth is dead and his body was thrown at sea. Having seen enough, Amleth goes to the coast and steals a boat as he swears to one day avenge his father and save his mother. Many years pass, and now an adult Amleth lives in the land of the Rus as a berserker with a tribe of Vikings. He's left his prince life to become a fearsome warrior that helps his band raid villages, kill their soldiers, claim the women, and gather young people to be sold as slaves. After the successful raid of Gardariki, Amleth leaves the celebrations behind to take a walk and comes across a temple with a seeress inside. This seeress reminds Amleth of his revenge oath and predicts he'll be victorious, but for that to happen, he must go to the land of the north where Efjalnir currently resides. He must also follow a vixen to seek a fated sword that will match his rage. The seeress disappears after clarifying that she's only helping him because his path is intertwined with a maiden king. The next morning, Amleth hears the slaves they've captured will be sent to Iceland to work for Efjalnir and takes the chance to gather some information about his uncle. It turns out he fled to the backwater with his family after the king of Norway took his kingdom, so he killed his brother for nothing. At that moment, Amleth sees a raven, and remembering his father used to be called the Raven King, he takes it as a sign. Coming up with a plan is easy. Amleth cuts his hair, hides his necklace, steals some different clothes from a body, and brands his chest with the slave mark before sneaking aboard the ship that will take the slaves to Iceland. There, he meets Olga, who claims to be a sorceress. She knows Amleth is actually a Northman, but she still treats him kindly, and even comforts him when at night his dreams are haunted by visions of the past, the future, and Olga herself. The ship is shaken by a storm on the way, but the party still manages to make it safely to Iceland. They're picked up at the shore by Finner, who puts all the slaves in chains and guides them to Efjalnir's farm, where he lives with the now adult Thorir and his second son, the young Gunnar. Efjalnir isn't impressed by how weak these slaves look and wants to send them away, so Amleth hits the man next to him to show off his strength and introduces himself with a fake name. Efjalnir decides to keep him, and he also chooses 2 men for the fields and some maids for his wife, taking particular interest in Olga. On his first night at the farm, Amleth sneaks out to try to steal a knife, but gets distracted when he sees a vixen on the field just like the seeress had predicted, which means he's on the right path. The next day, Amleth plays along and works hard as a slave, which gives him the opportunity to enter Efjalnir's home and make a shocking discovery: Gudrun is there, alive and well. She was the one to give birth to Gunnar as Efjalnir's new wife. Afterward, Olga checks on him to see if he's gathered information, and when soldiers see her out of her station, they come to take her away. Right before they arrive, Olga asks Amleth to come looking for her if he ever loses her. When night falls, Amleth follows the vixen and finds a he-witch inside a cave. This man instantly recognizes Amleth and shows him he's kept Hymir's head since Efjalnir killed him. Through a special ritual, the he-witch summons Hymir's spirit and gets the head to talk directly into Amleth's mind to tell him the tale of the legendary sword Draugr, which can only be unsheathed during the night. To find it, Amleth must visit the sword's owner, the Mound Dweller, and be sure to trust the moonlight. The he-witch also offers Amleth one last prophecy. One day he'll have to choose between kindness for his kin or hate for his enemies. Next, Amleth enters a mound and finds the body of the Dweller, who is sitting with the sword on his lap. As soon as Amleth tries to take the sword, the Dweller awakes and begins attacking him, so Amleth must defend himself with any trash he can find around him. When the dweller walks around the ray of moonlight that slips through the mound's entrance, Amleth remembers the witch's words and pushes the body under the light. The dweller freezes and gives Amleth the chance to kill him, but as soon as he turns around, Amleth finds himself back at the beginning in front of the sitting man. This time, when he tries to take the sword, he retrieves it without issues. Amleth returns to the farm and is seen by Efjalnir's dog, who starts barking. To make him shut up, Amleth growls at him, getting Efjalnir to dismiss the barking as unimportant and to miss Amleth. Then, Efjalnir goes looking for Olga to spend the night with her, but Olga shows him it's her period, meaning she isn't available. She also tries to attack Efjalnir, but he just easily pushes her aside and orders the head maid to teach Olga some manners before leaving. Amleth sees all this from his hiding spot and thinks it's the perfect moment to attack, but the sun is rising and he can't unsheath the sword, so he hides it until the right time comes. The next day, Amleth tells Olga about the sword, and she agrees to help because she wants her freedom too. She has access to the kitchen, but Amleth makes sure to clarify something. He intends to rescue his mother as well. Gudrun is just another victim, and she plays along with Efjalnir's wishes for the sake of her safety and Gunnar's. Afterward, Efjalnir takes his family and a selected group of slaves to meet with the chieftain and his people for a match of Navliker. The game consists of 2 teams of 5 warriors that fight over a ball in order to score, and killing is allowed. Amleth is chosen for Efjalnir's team and finds himself in a brutal sport where little by little each player dies. Towards the end, only Amleth and one very big opponent are left. Efjalnir's team is losing and that drives Gunnar mad, so he tries to steal the ball to score and is attacked by the opposite team's player. Gunnar is knocked out, but before he gets killed, Amleth jumps in his defense and kills his opponent. Later during the celebrations, Thorir approaches Amleth to congratulate him for his loyalty and bravery. As a reward, from now on, Amleth will have privileges at the farm, he'll work less, command the other slaves, and be allowed to choose a woman for himself. Thorir tells him he's even allowed to choose Olga because Efjalnir has given up on her and her attitude. Amleth doesn't think about it twice and looks for Olga, then takes her deep into the forest so they can get busy without anybody else watching. Once they're done, Olga uses her abilities to talk to Mother Soil and ask for her protection. They also find some special mushrooms that will help them with their plan for revenge, which will finally start when they return to the farm. The next day is spent working normally, but when night falls, Amleth ambushes 2 of Gunnar's companions and kills them. With their body parts, he makes a centaur form and leaves it to be found by the leaders in the morning. Gunnar is obviously furious when he sees it and swears revenge on the Christians, believing it was them that did this, but Efjalnir is doubtful. The farm's priestess checks the bodies and informs everyone that the wounds aren't from this world. Whoever did this, it's hungry for more and will attack again. Later at night, while the priestess prepares a girl to be sacrificed to the gods for protection, Amleth provokes all the animals in the area into barking and howling. This drives Efjalnir's dog mad and causes him to attack his master, so Efjalnir has to kill him in self-defense. While everyone is distracted by the animals, Amleth enters the temple, frees the girl, ties up the priestess instead, and kills the priest before hanging him at the altar. The following day, while Amleth secretly adds the mushrooms to the stew, the male slaves are given a new chore: they will protect the farm from any incoming attack. In the evening, Efjalnir's men begin hallucinating, which causes them to attack each other or even themselves. After talking to Olga to agree on a meeting spot at dawn, Amleth sneaks inside the main house and surprises his mother by revealing his identity. Gudrun is proud to see him alive, but she's got shocking news for him: she doesn't need to be rescued. Aurvandill had lied to Amleth when he told tales of his romance with his wife. Gudrun had actually been a slave that the king took by force. She never loved him or mourned him. In fact, she was the one that begged Efjalnir to kill him. The day of the betrayal, she hadn't been screaming, she had been happily laughing because she finally was with the man she actually wanted. Amleth's starting to think he should kill Gudrun as well, but she reminds him that he's a man full of love for his mother and his brother. If he kills Efjalnir and Thorir, Gudrun would accept Amleth as her new king and they could rule together. She goes as far as kissing her own son, but Amleth doesn't fall for it and leaves her behind to find Thorir, who he kills on his bed. Then he meets with Olga to tell him he'll be hiding in the hills because Gudrun knows his identity and he can't play the role of a slave anymore, so they'll finish their plan the next day. In the morning, Efjalnir is mad with grief when he finds Thorir's body without the heart, and Gudrun tells him Amleth did it. Efjalnir decides to start killing slaves to make them confess what they know, but when he is about to kill Olga, Amleth reveals himself to stop him. He's wearing his prince necklace again, and after using his real name, he shows that he has Thorir's heart. Efjalnir sends his men after him, and Amleth meets them in combat to give Olga time to escape, then he allows them to capture him. Thinking himself victorious, Efjalnir takes Thorir's heart back, but Amleth reveals it actually belongs to the dog. Furious, Efjalnir hangs Amleth in the barn and beats him up to make him confess the location of Thorir's heart, but Amleth refuses to tell. Efjalnir needs to leave for Thorir's funeral but promises to come back later to finish things, and on their way out, one of the men drops Amleth's sword on the ground thinking it's useless because it can't be unsheathed. As soon as everyone's gone, a group of ravens shows up with a hooded figure and they free Amleth. The people of the farm give Thorir a proper ceremonial funeral and Gunnar is declared the only heir to the throne. Afterward, they go back to the barn to kill Amleth, but by the time they get there, he's already gone. Meanwhile, Amleth finds himself on a horse ridden by a Valkyrie that is taking him to Valhalla, but suddenly he wakes up and realizes it was Olga that saved him. The fact she came back for him must be a sign of fate, inspiring Amleth to run away with her. He's got kinsmen in Orkney, so they could find passage there. After a day of horse riding, the couple finds a boat and is allowed aboard. Amleth notices Olga has a scar on her neck that Fjolnir left there with his knife and decides to kiss it for comfort. This act gives him a vision of the family tree again. Thanks to this, Amleth learns Olga is pregnant with twins, and one of them will be the Maiden King from the Cirrus prophecy. This should be good news, but Amleth fears that his children will never be safe as long as Fjolnir lives. Remembering he was told he would have to choose between kindness for his kin or hate for his enemies, Amleth decides to choose both. Ignoring Olga's pleas, he gives her his prince necklace so she can secure her future and jumps off the ship. While Amleth swims back to the shore, Olga calls the wind spirits to protect the ship's journey. When night falls, Amleth sneaks back into the farm and begins killing all the warriors, taking extra pleasure in slowly finishing Finner through what's left of his nose. After freeing all the women, Amleth enters the main house and is attacked by Gudrun, who is wielding a sword Fjolnir left her for protection. However, she has no warrior training, and it's incredibly easy for Amleth to kill her with a sword through the heart. At that moment, Gunnar shows up and jumps on Amleth's back to stab him a couple of times, but Amleth shakes him off and quickly kills him as well. Fjolnir shows up next and, as he picks up the bodies of his family, he asks Amleth to meet him at the gates of Hell, meaning the crater of the volcano Hekla, for a final proper duel. Bleeding heavily from the stab wounds, Amleth watches the slaves burn down the farm before leaving for the volcano. On his way up to the crater, Amleth finds the bodies of Gudrun and Gunnar, so he gives them his blessing before finally meeting with Fjolnir. Both men are outstanding warriors and the battle's pretty balanced at first, but Amleth is already hurt, thus it doesn't take long for Fjolnir to overpower him. However, Amleth finds strength in his anger to rise again and, after exchanging a few more blows, both men kill each other at the same time. As he passes out, Amleth has a vision of Olga with his twins before a Valkyrie appears to take his soul through the gates of Valhalla. Thanks for joining us on this wild movie ride. We hope you enjoyed this recap as much as we enjoyed making it. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button and join our squad.